All right. Oh, hold on. My bad, everybody. My lighting is not set up. Hold on. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody. We're just waiting for everybody to sort of come in. Hello, Mehdi. How are you doing? It's good to see everybody. All right. Let's go. I have my best Zelensky on today. Whenever I wear green, my beard looks very, very, very red. So, we're doing it. I am going to just take us over to the map real fast. I hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday. I figure I'd do this one a little bit earlier today so we can get a bunch of different audiences in. Obviously, people are doing stuff on Saturdays, so it might not be the biggest stream, but we'll get right into it. We have some very, 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 very... There we go. Just calibrated with Skadinsky. Yes, sir. We must destroy the Russians. All right. Over to the map. We have some pretty serious advancements today and some pretty serious events that we're going to talk about. So let's get right into it. Starting out, let's go ahead and start out with Novomihailovka, where we have a very, very large Russian advance. Some sources are saying that the Russians also advanced through this field. I had already given them this field, considering we had a geolocation in this tree line and a geolocation down here in the southern part of this tree line. I just figured that there weren't any Ukrainians in this area. Gave it to them, so my map was a little bit ahead. So I believe some mappers have now added this in. Mine was already there. The Russians have now advanced through this open area and have reached the Dacha area north of Novomihailovka, in the northern section of Novomihailovka. So again, these are the two supply routes that come into the town for Ukraine. This one is paved and this one is a better road. So they still have supply into the town. However, most of the town now is in the gray zone. These are the actual Russian lines. The actual Ukrainian lines are likely something sort of like this around the pond, maybe a little bit down here and then back up is what the actual Ukrainian lines look like. And then the rest of that is gray zone. With the Russians getting into this northern Dacha area, I do expect that the Ukrainian lines will begin collapsing in this section of the front. I've also been checking FIRMS data, which, if you guys don't know what FIRMS data is, FIRMS is the satellite measurement system for like forest fires and stuff like that. If there, anytime that there's a large fire, it pops up on FIRMS, and we have seen a heightened level of intensity in this area right here. So right in this area, just south of Pibieta, the Russians are fighting very hard right here, and likely from this direction as well, trying to capture this high ground. You can kind of see it runs along this right here. and that would allow the Russians, to look down on Konstantinivka and Pereskovivka right here. So as soon as this area falls, these three settlements, Novomihailovka, what's left of it, Pereskovivka, and then Konstantinivka, are all going to be in a much, much more difficult position, especially everything on the north of the river. Konstantinivka, the actual urban area right here, might hold for a little bit longer, but the areas that are separated logistically by the river, as soon as this gets under fire control, everything over here, it becomes almost impossible to sustain, right? Because the Ukrainians are not going to be running logistics down along this reservoir and then up into Pereskovivka that way. They just are too close to the front for logistics to operate that way. So logistics has to come in from the 0532 down this road right here, through this town and down this road. So the Russians are trying to approach and gain line of sight on these two areas, so that this settlement right here and this settlement right here are basically captured without a fight. It's gonna be very hard for the Ukrainians to hold it. So situation's deteriorating very quickly in Novomihailovka. A lot of sources are saying that within the week, the Ukrainians have already mostly withdrawn, and that this is just sort of a cleaning up operation. There's not a lot left to defend on this half of the town. I imagine the Ukrainians will probably stay in this section of the town just because the logistics is not difficult. They have tree lines here. And they have this settlement right here. So they will likely try to hold this as long as the northern area is also being held. All right. Okay, moving up to Horivka. The Russians have crossed over the dam area, have entered into Horivka, and have made it to the school here, or what's left of it. Again, most of these places are pretty destroyed. The Russians are now going to try to fight their way into this industrial area right here. Once the industrial area is captured, the rest of Horivka should fall. This is exactly what the Russians want. They want to push the Ukrainians back behind this set of reservoirs right here, like I talked about. Once they have that solid line of defense, the Russians can then begin moving south into this open area and west of Pobieda, and then begin focusing on the battle for Krasnohorivka. Again, this is a frontline town. The traditional 10-year now or 9-year fortifications are still in place here, right outside Donetsk City. This is one of the parts of the front that has not seen much movement, but I expect Krasnohorivka to become a new battle field by midsummer, I think. Could be earlier. We'll just have to see how fast things deteriorate for the Ukrainians here. Over to Novelsky, the Russians made progress to the south. If you look at a topographical map, this is the high ground that runs right through here. So again, the Russians are doing what is expected of them and pushing along the high ground. Once they have secured the high ground, it will end up looking something probably like this. It's a little much, but something like this. Once they have something that looks like that, then the battle for Krasnohorivka will begin. Obviously, you can see that they're going to want to cut this supply line, reduce logistics to only this back area. When I did my overview of what the Battle of Krasnohorivka will look like, this area is of vital importance because these are two supply lines that go into the city. Also, I do believe that this rail crossing right here, this rail bridge, was just targeted by a Fab 1500. So it was, I'm pretty sure it was the one outside of Karivka. So again, another, or maybe, oh no, it was this one. I'm sorry. It was this rail line right here. This rail bridge was hit by a Fab 1500 that crosses and provides logistics to this entire area. So the Russians have now targeted the logistics line running into Horivka. And does anybody want to help me with that one? How, I forget, it gets smaller. Maximilikivinka. Oh God, man, they're just trying too hard at this point. All right, we got a question. Hold on, let me see. Heard about Zelensky ready to talk for 2022 borders. Yeah, that would have been nice a couple years ago when that was the offer that was on the table. Anonymity for the Donbass, neutrality on NATO, and the other denazification, whatever that stuff. That's when this was an option, right? That's not an option anymore. So he can talk about that all he wants, but it does go to show that the leadership is starting to realize that their wildest ambitions for this Ukraine project are definitely not going to pan out the way that they hoped. All right, back over to the map. Delete. Delete. All right. Another big advance by the Russians. The Ukrainians have now pretty much, I believe, left. They've withdrawn from Pervomaisky, this entire area, in fact. They might still be holding the southern end. I don't know exactly where the lines fall, but the Russians made a very, very quick advance across the dam. Some Russian sources were saying that, this area was just kind of always contested. There hasn't been major changes, but now the map is identifying this as Russian controlled. Again, that puts this area that's deep, deep between Novelsky and Pervomaisky into a very, very serious salient. Supply is cut off through this road. Supply is cut off through this road. The only supply can come in through this small road right here, and then down this road into this area. So again, being watched by the Russians from both ways. I expect this area to also be captured relatively quickly once the fighting in Perskakivka or Pervomaisky has settled. All right, and then out of Semenkivka, we have reports that the Russians have advanced another 100 meters in the town. Not mapped it yet, but that's what's going on there. Again, this half of Berdichi right here seems like it's been pretty much abandoned. Still waiting for visual confirmation to update the map. But the second line of defense behind Avdiivka is now almost completely captured. All that remains is to cross this reservoir and capture this little part of Orlivka and finish up Semkivka. And then once all that happens, I think this part of Berdichi will actually be the last area to fall. Just because of how close it is to these settlements. They can continue to keep it supplied, and Ukrainian artillery works the best on this section of the front right here. So Berdichi is just kind of this like hellscape for both sides, losing a lot of vehicles and men here. But it's important because once Berdichi falls, this entire second line collapses, and then the Ukrainians are going to be dealing with whatever they have back behind. Same thing goes for Pervomaisky. As soon as Pervomaisky falls, this entire field area right here should fall rather quickly, and then the Russians will be at Umansk. And then, I'm very interested to see how the defense lasts back behind Avdiivka, just the way that they're still defending every inch, even though they have at this point, I'm so bullish in what I'm saying about the way that this conflict is heading. I'm very, very confident. Everything that I seem to say continues to get right. Obviously, I'm going to keep playing devil's advocate with myself and trying to learn and not make mistakes out of hubris and that sort of stuff. But Ukraine is defending every inch when they have crippling manpower issues right now. They have crippling manpower issues. The equipment, every single piece of equipment lost is something that's not being replaced. The whole Belgorod situation was a complete farce. It was a joke. They lost probably about 1,000 men over a 2-week period in this region through deep strike, through crossing. 1,000 men that could have held Novomihailovka for the foreseeable future, right? If they had 4 or 5 more rotations here, not saying that Novomihailovka wouldn't have fallen just because the infrastructure is destroyed and it's not okay for the Ukrainians to stay here. Really, it's not beneficial. But say you have 1,000 more men that you can commit to the southern Donetsk front, that plugs a lot of holes. And I'm going to show you guys some reporting that I've been reading from Ukrainian sources, basically saying that. I know that Resident said this, and that in whatever you guys want to think about Resident, they're kind of like a leak group. They claim to have sources in the office of the president, and they have been rather correct, especially as of late. So I tend to at least listen to what they say and, you know, understand that it might not be true, but it also could be true. What they're saying basically is that Sirski is now throwing basically untrained reservists into areas, or not reservists, mobilized conscripts into areas to plug holes. That's what they're doing now. They're saying that the casualties are slowly increasing all the time because first off, they don't have the equipment or the ammunition to actually defend most positions that they're holding. Ukraine's front line is way, way, way too long for them right now to deal with, and the Russians are only getting stronger every day. I'm going to show you another. Actually, the British intelligence came out and said that verbatim. So, 1,000 men here would have been fantastic, but they didn't end up getting that. All of that, all of those tanks, all of that artillery that was lost up here, all of those shells that have been fired into Belgorod for no reason. It's all just desperation, right? And you can tell because they know that basically what the option is you defend and you die by a million slow cuts and nothing ever gets done, or you try to spark something, cause a distraction, whatever you think about the Moscow terror attack, leave the Moscow terror attack out of the whole equation. There are legitimate terrorist attacks being perpetrated by the AFU in the Belgorod region, just mindlessly shelling civilian areas. I mean, no military targets, no nothing. So it's just it's all desperation, and I believe it's going to get worse. But the lines are too long. There's too much to defend. The defensive positions are not strong enough anymore. We are now reaching the point that I have been talking about forever, where the defenses that the Ukrainians have been hiding behind. Avdiivka. What is it? Avdiivka is the most present, I believe, like visually present, because once this line collapsed, this entire front collapsed, and the Ukrainians had to bring everything in to defend the second line, which was not very well developed, and then this third line, which is probably even less developed. That's a very big deal. And all that happened, if you guys remember, because the tunnel operation that went through here and got behind the fortification, and the fortification was captured. Once that happened, once those defense lines were down, the Russians probably made one of their biggest gains since Bakhmut, right? Like very, very quickly. And now you can see, like, I mean, square miles now every day, square miles, square kilometers, 10, 15 square kilometers in all of these different areas. I mean, this is progress that we have not seen from the Russians the entire conflict, and it's just picking up momentum, and it's just going to get faster and faster and faster. A lot of people are still talking about a muddy season in Ukraine. I'm not saying that there's not going to be a muddy season, but it is almost April, right? It's Easter weekend, I think it's Easter weekend. Yeah, happy Easter, everybody. Also, happy Trans Visibility Day to all of you Americans out there. What up? Represent. The the lines are now just moving very quick, and I don't think there's really going to be much of a muddy season. I think that the muddy season would have really helped the Ukrainians slow down the Russian advance, but with the really mild, dry winter, it's not. I mean, it hasn't even been raining that much recently, so there's not, like, mud doesn't have to happen every year. It's going to be a lesser or greater extent. And this year it appears to be lesser, which is definitely going to help the Russians. All right. What, you guys don't like Trans Visibility Day? Bigots, dude. Homophobic, transphobic bigots. Let's see. Any other front? Yes, we have a small Russian advance near Rozdalivka. This is more of recapturing previously lost positions that the Ukrainians tried to push in during the Bakhmut offensive. This was the upper end, and it just failed completely. They pushed down through this field and got rocked here multiple times. So that's that for that area. And then I think that's pretty much it. All right. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get some questions in. I'll be looking at the chat a little bit more now. Let's see. I wonder when Ukraine will start to ask for F-35s. I'm sure they already have. But sorry, Israel needs them more, which we're also going to talk about some of the Israel stuff today. So yeah, if you guys have questions, go ahead and get them in. I always look over at the questions just because it kind of helps me think of things. And if I forget a topic that I wanted to talk about, I have some articles that I actually want to show you guys. All right, here we go. Which one do I want to start with? Okay, we'll start with the CNN article. All right. Ukraine faces retreat without U.S. aid, Zelensky says. So directly from Zelensky, the horse's mouth. Ukrainian forces would have to cede further territory to Russia if U.S. military aid does not arrive soon, Vladimir Zelensky warned in his latest appeal to Congress to pass a multi-billion-dollar aid package. President Joe Biden's administration is struggling to push a $95 billion international aid package, which includes $60 billion for Ukraine through the House of Representatives, more than a month since it was last in Senate. Okay, so what I'm hearing from some of the people that I've talked to about the situation with this bill is that there are certain Republicans that want it to pass. Mike Johnson does not necessarily want it to pass, but and this is just all opinion based, so don't take this as gospel or anything. I don't think anybody really has a problem with the aid passing. The only issue is, like, if it was non-election year, they would all want this aid to pass. It's great for the military-industrial complex. It's great for re-elections. It's going to get you donations in the future and stuff like that. So, and it's great for your congressional district, because once all that money goes back into your congressional district, like what is it? The F-35 has manufacturing in every single congressional district. If you wanted to know how the MIC works, that's how it works. So, the aid package will likely pass, but it's been basically delayed now until I think mid-April is the next time that they can come to a vote on it. So again, that's another massive delay for the Ukrainians who are struggling with the overall situation as is. And even when that aid passes, it's not like the situation is going to improve on the front line in one day, right? It's going to take a couple of days to actually, or a couple of weeks and months to actually start getting equipment in, start filling orders. And a majority of that aid package is going back into the military industrial complex for refitting. So, I mean, it's not even like that money is all going to go to Ukraine. Can you do your best Zelensky impression? Yeah, hold on. Hold on, BRB. Oh, no, I can't find it. Oh, well. I'll just use this. Don't worry. Sorry. Thrilling. Me getting up and leaving. I'll just do it like a little bit like this. There are no Nazis in Ukraine. Russia is a terror state. All right. All right. Sorry, guys. Yeah, where's my money? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at impressions, but that was the bottom of my grinder, and I'm pretty sure I just inhaled like marijuana smoke or marijuana dust. So fun times, boys. Fun times if I start sneezing. All right. Next article. Yes, guys. I know that my impression was not very good. I'm sorry. I have not done Zelensky. I can't do his voice particularly well. All right. talk about the next article. So here we go. This is talking about the overarching situation right now for Ukraine in terms of their political, in terms of the political situation in Ukraine. Zelensky fires more aides in a reshuffle as Russia launches drones and missiles across Ukraine. So ignore that last part. Man, dude, I don't know how anybody does drugs which require snorting. It bugs me so much. All right, sorry, got distracted. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky dismissed a longtime aide and several advisors on Saturday in a continuing reshuffle while Russia unleashed fresh attacks overnight. Zelensky dismissed top aide Shahiri Shafir from his post of first assistant, where he had served since 2019. So again, more purges. Basically, the entire Ukrainian government that started this war in 2022 is now gone. They don't exist anymore. Yeah, purges are not a good sign. We talked about purges for a long time. And now we're just starting to see it, right? The situation starts getting bad, and you have to get yes men into place. You can't have people that are arguing with you. You can't have people that are slowing down the process or have a guilty conscience or anything like that. Yes men, yes men, yes men. So that's what Zelensky is continuing to do. He's got rid of almost everybody at this point. The only people that remain are people that are exactly in line with his position. All right, and then finally, to finish it off, here is Donald Tusk, which funny name, just because. It reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have seen like Rick and Morty, but Elon Tusk. That's what it always reminds me of. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. So Europe must get ready for a looming war. Again, just this rhetoric that Europe is next. Russia is going to push into Europe. It's very interesting to me. That's Schrodinger's Russia, where they're losing in Ukraine. Their economy's weak. They're a dictatorship. The people don't like the president. They don't have democracy. This, that, and the other. And yet, at the same time, they're poised to completely crush Ukraine, completely crush the West who's supporting Ukraine. It's a ridiculous sentiment, but it speaks to the overall desperation of the situation and what European leaders are thinking about in the future, I guess. Oh, man, I fucked myself up doing that. Oh, man. All right, I'm going to try to keep it together, boys. Oh, man. Uh-oh. I messed up, boys. Oh, man. It's like I have something in my nose. Oh, sorry, boys. Sorry. All right. Now I'm going to take us over to my Twitter. I have some posts that I wanted to talk about, and then we'll look at some firms data. All right. I have to sneeze. All right. Okay. So just an overview of Ukrainians' energy loss. This is a good post. Go follow Lojka if you guys are Lojka. If you guys are on Twitter. Damage analysis of Ukraine's energy infrastructure. You guys can go look at this, but basically you can see he lists the captured power plants in Ukraine in terms of their pre-war energy production, what has been destroyed, and then what has been destroyed as of the most recent attacks. And all in all, this totals 41% of Ukraine's energy generation has either been damaged and put out of commission or destroyed. That is a very sizable amount. And if you look at the rate at which it happened, I mean, this is all in a week, right? They lost 2, 3, 4 TPPs, the Kiev, 5 TPPs and a hydroelectric dam in Dnipropetrovsk. So This doesn't include, because we don't have confirmation of the other dams that were hit. There were 2 other hydroelectric dams that were targeted by ballistic missiles. We don't have confirmation on damage to those, but this is either, I mean, Ukraine has probably lost over 50% of its energy generation now at this point. I know somebody asked a question up here, so I'm going to go back. Question: what's your take on the next phase of the war? I'll answer this at the end. All right, I'll answer this at the end. Just try to remind me. All right, let's see. But yeah, so 50% of their energy generation is gone. It's going to start affecting logistics, day-to-day life. This is a big deal. And now Ukraine is importing energy from Europe, which was the exact opposite of what was supposed to happen. Ukraine is a large energy producer. They export to Europe. Now it's the other way around, which is just going to further sour the view of this Ukraine project and what it's doing to Europe proper, especially in places like Poland. Yep, here's our sources in the general staff said that Syrskyi is forced to hold positions with ever newer reserves. There are no real clashes along the front line. The enemy is simply destroying our military with bombs and artillery. The intensity of airstrikes is so high that we are forced to send reserves to some areas of the front twice a day to hold positions. If the situation does not change, then in the summer, the Ukrainian armed forces will lose the opportunity to hold the defense due to heavy losses and decline in morale. Whether you choose to believe that, I mean, it sounds like exactly what everybody's basically saying right now, right? It goes in line with anecdotal evidence. It goes in line with anecdotal statements. Once enough anecdotes are all compiled, it becomes non-anecdotal at that point. All right. This is the intelligence update from Great Britain. MI6 basically. Russian forces have maintained a gradual advance west of Avdiivka. In late March 2024, they almost certainly took control of 2 villages, almost certainly, Tenenke and Orlivka, and are continuing to contest others in the area. Russia has continued attacks along several other points on the front line, but has made little progress in recent weeks. Except those 2 towns that they just took, and Ivanivsky that you didn't mention, and Novomihailovka, which is falling, and Pervomayske, and all of those other areas. Just don't worry about those. The Russians aren't making any progress. Russia maintains a significant quantitative advantage in the conflict, overmatching Ukraine in munitions and equipment. Very big omission there, obviously. We all knew that, but numbers, it is likely recruiting approximately 30,000 additional personnel each month, and can highly likely continue to absorb losses and continue attacks aimed at wearing down Ukrainian forces. So this is British intelligence, this is not me. So when I come out and say something like, let's say that the casualty rate right now is 1-to-1, 1 Ukrainian for every 1 Russian that dies, right? Ukraine cannot maintain that with what Russia has to offer. I don't believe that is the ratio, but I'm saying if that is the best case for Ukraine, they're not winning this war, right? Anything greater than that is just ridiculous. They're obviously having equipment and munitions disadvantage. Russians basically have air superiority now, not supremacy, but superiority, and everything is heading the Russians' way. So I don't know. The delusion, the group of delusional people who believe that Ukraine is winning is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. All right. Let's see. But importantly, approximately 30,000 additional personnel each month means that there will likely not be a need for a mobilization. The Russians are not losing 30,000 people a month in Ukraine. So their military is consistently growing. All right. All right. So I'm going to talk about the last attack that happened in Ukraine. Again, here you can see another one of these maps. You can see blue is the hypersonic, red is the cruise missiles, KH-101s. Down here we have the X-22s, I believe. Oh, wait, no. They're saying no X-22s were launched in this one. So these are X-59s then. These are X-59s and these are X-59s. So controllable missiles and then ballistic missiles, right? I believe that these maps are not complete because we definitely saw strikes. But as you can see, Dnipro was targeted. This dam on the river was targeted. This dam on the river was also targeted. We see that the Krivoy Rog TPP was targeted. Lviv region was targeted right above Styx, which I'm going to actually show you what was targeted here. And there was a Kinjal. Actually, there were 3 Kinjals fired, but we only see the one on the map. And that targeted somewhere in the Ivano region over here. We don't know what was hit, but something important in Western Ukraine was targeted with multiple hypersonic Kinjal weapons. Probably delivery of something, you know. Sometimes, listen, guys. Sometimes when you live life on the edge and you have to be entertaining, you do things without a second thought. That's what winners do. And sometimes winners snort marijuana. And you can put that on a t-shirt and quote me, please, because that's funny. All right. I just wanted to show you the map I made talking about what was hit. So Blish, Volitsko, Ogrotsky. Sorry, guys. The largest underground gas storage facility in Ukraine and one of the largest in Europe was likely the target of the Russian missile strike in the Lvov region, not the hypersonic, but the cruise missile strike. I'll show you guys that in just a second. The Kavin HPP hydroelectric power plant in the Cherkasy region, just south of Kiev, was also likely targeted. The Kremenchuk HPP in not Dnipro, in the Dnipropetrovsk region, but just south of Cherkasy, was also targeted. We know that for sure. Excuse me. Because of Zelensky's omission, the Kamansky HPP was also targeted. We know that for sure. And the Krivoy Rog TPP was also targeted, and we have proof of that targeting. So some big events. Here is the, oh man, here is the, this is the best stream I've ever done, I think. This is the large underground fuel storage in Ukraine. As you can see, definitely the largest. The British intelligence had warned Ukraine to strengthen air defense around this, as it was likely going to be targeted. The Russians did target it. Here is a satellite view of the facility. And here is the distance from Stry, Lvov region. All we saw was a video from this region of a massive glowing fire over here. So definitely targeted, definitely hit, probably destroyed. Here is the Krivoy Rog TPP. This is the firm's data that I was talking about. I'm actually going to go show you guys so you guys can use it and use it as a resource, just like the topographical maps. Oh man, I can smell the weed. I can literally smell it in my nose. Ugh. It's burning. It's like back up in here. I know I messed up. Actually, I'll just take us over to the firm's data right now so you guys can see. My eyes are all red too. All right. So here is the TPP. Obviously, there's no fire. I have the date set to the 25th. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Yeah, you can see down here in the bottom. I have the date set. You can go chronologically so you can see the different strikes. You can see what was hit. There's nothing. And then on the 29th, the dead center of the TPP here on this reservoir was hit and was damaged, probably the control room. The Russians have been targeting the control rooms. Apparently, according to Ukrainian sources, during the 2022 infrastructure strikes, the Russians would be between 100 and 300 meters of accuracy, which I don't know if that's true, but that's what the Ukrainians were saying this year. And now the Russians are within, they say, 5 meters of what they're intending to target. So, you know, pretty interesting. But yeah, so there's the firm's data, and then you can see on the 30th, it's gone. But on the 30th, a new strike happens on this warehouse facility right here. I've been looking at firms a lot, but it's not always the best. I think it gets a lot. It can get false readings, and it can also be a little off of what was actually hit. But if you guys want to use this as a resource, it's pretty cool, especially during strike days. You just have to be careful with certain like industrial areas. Like here, they put off heat, so it looks like they are there's like a strike happening or something, but really it's just normal work. If you zoom out, you can see areas that are not in combat. Like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild, right? That's not there's no wars going on here. This is just industrial output. All right. If things get desperate, will Ukraine use a chemical weapon? I put nothing past Ukraine. I at this point, I think that, I have my opinions about what they've done so far. I don't think that there's any point where they're not going to push the boundaries and try to cross the line, right? So yes, I do believe that they will use a chemical weapon. If they have it, if it suits their needs, there is no hold bar. Will they do they have one that they're actually going to use like that? I don't know. I don't know if it suits them at all at the current moment. It's sort of like a shit happens sort of thing. Like whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Get ready, guys. You're going to see more terrorist attacks. I'm not talking about strikes on oil infrastructure. I'm talking about really, really desperate, sad shit that's going to hurt people, innocent people, to try to get Russia to overreact. You're going to continue to see it. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. All right. Back over to my Twitter for just a second. A few more things I wanted to show you guys. This is just interesting. The U.S. Army has suffered 2 Apache crashes within 48 hours. There was another report of one that went down in Syria. I don't know if that is confirmed. Here we have Ukraine battle maps talking about the areas of the dam that were hit. The first Iskander strike targeted the actual generation room, probably the control room. And the second Iskander strike likely targeted the transformer substation over here. So again, this facility is likely completely out of commission. This was just kind of interesting. Russians are now using AGS-17 grenade launchers mounted on top of these little Roomba drones. They drive into a certain area and they can just fire, semi-accurate 40 mic all over the place. And then here's Vladimir Zelensky confirming what I just said. I'm just going to read this. Ukraine's Kanvin and Dniester hydroelectric power plants were among the deliberate targets of Russia's mass airstrike this night. The terrorist state of Russia wishes to repeat the ecological disaster in Kherson following Russia's destruction of the Kharkova HPP. Interesting enough, this time, the Russians did not destroy the actual dam like they did last time. They just hit the actual power generation. So the dams are still intact. Like the actual physical structure is there. There's not a bunch of water pouring out or anything like that. But when Russia did it to Novokharkovka, they had to blow the whole dam for some reason and wash out all their own positions. Very interesting. But the truth does not matter. This time, not only Ukraine but Moldova are at risk. Water will not stop at the border posts. So that he's just trying to incite the whole Moldova issue, trying to expand the war himself. Very, very desperate, very weak. But like I said, it's only going to get worse. So yeah. In the Poltava region, there was also this gas facility was also struck. The Russians are literally just targeting everything now. So just get ready for more and more hits like this. I don't think it's going to slow down. Apparently, the Russians are now making these DIY sort of grad kits with grad rockets that they can't use for whatever reason, whether they're too old or whatever. But basically, what this looks like is the Russians are making cheap recoilless rockets. Basically, if you guys know what a recoilless rifle is, that's what this looks like. So, just a cheap way to maintain. All right. If Ukraine gets the Death Star, will Russia lose? Depends. It depends if Russia has a Luke Skywalker-esque character that can, thread that needle. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, yeah. I just wanted to show you guys this. The drone that intercepts other drones with a large net. It then captures it and can fly it back to its base to retrieve its information. Again, just another step up in Russia's drone warfare. Here is a infrastructure substation in Kharkov that was hit. Kharkov is now without power. The same goes for Krivoy or Krivoyrad, Zaporozhye, and I believe Poltava, all also, and Dnipropetrovsk, all don't have power. So, oh man, guys, I hurt myself. When I did that. Definitely worth. Definitely funny and definitely worth. Aiden, you got any idea how dangerous it is to be an FPV drone operator? Well, it's not the safest, right? You're within 10 kilometers of the front line, so that's not great. But at the same time, you're not on the front, and if you hide properly, you probably won't be targeted. But we see drone crews get targeted regularly, especially Ukrainian drone crews. I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to go blow. All right, I'm back. I think I might have fixed it, but we'll see. Are the attacks on gas storage to hurt the EU? Yeah. I mean, it's probably a direct response to the Ukrainian strikes on Russian gas infrastructure, but really, even the strikes on Russian gas infrastructure hurt the EU right now. That's why the US and the EU have asked Ukraine to stop it because it's not benefiting them. And this is only going to make the situation worse, right? Anytime you're damaging the energy market at all, especially by targeting the largest storage facilities and stuff, that's just naturally going to make prices rise, which is going to hurt Europe, right? It doesn't hurt Russia. So I don't understand what you mean when you say Ukraine wants to push Russia into overreacting. What if Russia overreacts? What if Russia do? Okay, so what they're talking about is, or what I'm talking about is Russia overreacting in the way that provides a casus belli for the West to intervene. So if Russia overreacts, it can have massive negative consequences on Russia, right? Say they wipe out Ukrainian leadership tomorrow in an overreaction, and the West is like, oh, well, we can't let Russia just win, so we're going to have to do something. It can very easily snowball into something that you don't want to happen from a Russian perspective. From a Ukrainian perspective, they're losing, right? They've lost. They've invested everything. They've doubled down. It's over. What do they need? They need something to change. And if that is Russia using a tactical nuke, what difference does it make, right? If Ukraine, if the idea you're already dealing with is Ukraine isn't going to exist, I pushed Ukraine into this. I have nowhere else to go. My back is against the wall. I need Russia to do something. You start attacking Russia's nuclear facilities. You start attacking, I mean, when I say nuclear facilities, I mean anything that's nuclear capable. Bomber bases, silos, whatever you can think of. Start targeting that stuff. Terrorist attacks. Just get the Russians to overreact. Get attention, eyes back on Ukraine. Get more support coming in. Potentially pull Russia away from China. Potentially pull Russia away from India. Hurt their economy. This, that, and the other. That's what I mean by overreaction. Hope I answered your question. Let's see. This question is the one what was your take on the next phase of what the next phase of the war should be? I think due to the terror attack and the continued chilling of Belgorod and Kursk region, we might see a change in the SMO. I doubt we'll see a name change. I think that the idea of the SMO is more important than what the SMO actually is at this point. But I think we're in a war. I don't think that there are any SMO rules that apply anymore. Everything is off the table. Even Peskov has said that they're in a war. So I think that's where we're at. Provoke them into committing terrorist acts themselves. Yeah, exactly. Like if they start striking civilians or, they strike a nuclear power plant or anything like that, that's going to garner a huge reaction by the West. That's what Ukraine wants. That's what they're trying to bait Russia into doing. And I think that's why Putin is the right person for the job. He doesn't get baited into doing this sort of stuff like some other leaders might potentially, especially hardliners. All right. I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, guys. That was a fun one. Remember, I'm doing my roundtable in 2 hours. So get back here for that. It should be it should be all people that you've seen before, but it should be a good conversation. I haven't done one since the terror attack in Moscow. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the overarching situation in Ukraine and the recent events in the West in relation to the war in Ukraine. All right. Oh, yeah, Israel. You guys want me to talk about Israel? Basically, all I have to say about Israel right now is that they're about to invade Rafah. That's what's going to happen. There is no if, ands, or buts about that. So going to take us down to Israel real fast. Israel is about to invade Rafah on the Gaza Strip. There are basically the entire population of Gaza that was in Gaza is now in Rafah. They're in refugee camps. They're stuck here. This is not a good place. They're facing starvation. A genocide is occurring. We've seen the Israelis just targeting civilians basically for fun, what it looks like. The situation is just deteriorating here very, very rapidly. The Israelis are going to go into Rafah. They've made that very clear. The United States just quietly approved the transfer of some 2,100 bombs to Israel. So they're basically giving them the green light to go into Rafah. They're going to do that. They're going to kill a bunch of people, and it is going to be an absolute disaster for U.S. foreign policy and for Israel. They're going to solve their Gaza issue once and for all. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. The Israelis are going to suffer casualties, and they're basically going to get the entire Arab world very, very, very much against them. The Biden administration is is between such a rock and a hard place right now. If they don't let Israel do what they want, the Israeli lobby is going to completely tank the Biden re-election, right? And they have a lot of power. So that's a very real thing. So the Biden administration cannot go against Israel's wishes right now. But on the back end of that, if anybody knows how U.S. politics work, it tends to be Democrats that are very pro-Israel, pro-Palestine. Pro-Palestine, not pro-Israel, anti-Zionist, pro-two-state solution, that sort of stuff. So Biden is taking a massive domestic hit if he allows this to happen and basically gives the okay and arms the whole genocide. It's not a great look. And I don't care what people say. This is a textbook genocide. I am not being anti-Semitic. I am not being anti-Israel. I honestly don't really give a shit about most of this, right? I just don't care. I don't have a cultural connection. It's not my part of the world. I don't really care. I think the U.S. should not have any business over here, and that's as far as I go. I'm not a particularly religious person, so I don't believe in like the Holy Land stuff. I don't get what the fighting is about. It all seems very pointless and senseless to me, but they're obviously very passionate about it. And this is a genocide. By international law, there is no other way to explain this other than a genocide. Just removing people from their homes and destroying their homes is a genocide. So even if nobody died, Israel is committing a genocide. Unfortunately, a lot of people are dying and a lot more people are going to die. It's a genocide, right? I do care about genocide, guys. People saying I don't care about genocide. No, I just don't care about who owns what piece of territory in this part of the world. I don't care. I don't know enough about the history of the region. I'm across an entire ocean from this place. While it is important and while I do not support what Israel is doing, if there was a two-state solution, I would not care. If the Israelis all left here, I would not give a shit. I don't care. I just don't care what happens here. I don't want people to die. That's my position. All right. I think that's it. I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much. I'll be back in 2 hours. So tune in for that roundtable. It should be a good conversation. I appreciate you all so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.